coffee with you, boy. Late night coffee. Bang! That feels good. Well, I love me some Black Rifle. Now that's the only coffee to drink. Did my Purdy trip. Woo, that push-ups make your chest feel swole, son. Oh, isn't it funny how we have to be so overregulated? Like, we gotta be perfect, right? Clean MVR, physically fit, medical card, no tickets, no accidents last 5 years when you're applying for a job, right? Drug test clean, which I mean you should do all them damn things anyway. But can't mess up on securement if you're doing any kind of open deck freight. You know, then we got the regulations of the hours and clock in which we're allowed to run, how our schedule is regulated. And then we have, what else? You know, if you go to a job and you don't like that job and the carrier sucks, you go to a different carrier. That one ain't that cool, or the money didn't work out the way you were promised, or whatever. You go to a different carrier. Now you got 2 or 3 carriers on your record. You go try to get a job and say, man, you've had too many jobs. You job hop, right? Or they used to say all the time there's a driver shortage, right? But you apply and you got 2, 3, 4 years OTR, maybe in many different areas, and they say you're not qualified. You don't have enough experience. Isn't that funny? Almost every carrier out there nowadays, all of them across the board are going to automatic transmissions. But the jobs in the oil field, the jobs in heavy haul, the jobs with the trucks to Alaska, things like that, most of them are 18-speed transmissions, right? Some 13s, some 10s, but mostly 18s. How do you get a job? Back in the day, every truck was a manual transmission. Now, how do you get a job that needs you to be able to shift a manual transmission if you can't even get a job to get your automatic restriction removed if you didn't go to CDO school or whatever? And all the companies that'll hire you, the new entrant companies, are automatic transmissions on all of their equipment. Kind of a conundrum, isn't it? So, it's weird if you think about it. All of the regulations and all of the scrutiny and all of the crap that you have to go through to be a CDL driver. And it has a lower life expectancy. If you become a CDL driver, your life expectancy goes down to, like, I think early 70s, late 60s. Also, the obesity rate is extremely high in OTR drivers and drivers in general, as well as divorce rate. It's like the highest divorce rate in the nation is OTR drivers. I haven't looked into the suicide statistic, but I bet you it's pretty high. There's a lot of people out here that aren't happy. And then the compensation seems to be promising in the beginning in most opportunities, and that turns out to be BS. So you lump that into the fact that we have a just asinine amount of fraud in the industry with bad actors, and EPA, pollutions, emission problems, you know, a lot of things like that, economic problems, and then, you know, transportation is based on supply and demand. We're literally moving things, supply and demand, right? If the markets aren't doing well and there's not a lot of commodities being moved around, supply and demand is kind of weak, then the market isn't good. So you have so many factors. And then if you go out and get your own authority, holy crap, it even increases those crazy things you got to deal with, like safety scores, which you got to deal with that anyway on your CDL as a driver. But as a company, now you got to deal with it with a bunch of boneheads, right? That could potentially mess things up. You got to have, go through litigation to get some of that stuff removed that's unnecessary and uncalled for. In the states, when you're going through all these different states, it's just a money scam. So it's almost like the mafia. Then you have tolling on top of it. People don't even think about this. You got tolls, right? Which are also bullshit, because we already pay IFTA taxes. You know, now we got to pay tolls on top of it. And if you avoid the tolls, that messes up your routes. It makes it more difficult. You're more likely to get speeding tickets because you're going through small towns and speed traps. You deal with these officers who, in most cases, are young and untrained, unqualified to do the job. that are trying to basically cite you for something. They're trying to find something on your equipment that is faulty, whatever that is, to write you up. So, man, out of all the things that you could do for a career or for money, monetary value and gain, it just doesn't seem like it's that worth it. What do y'all think? Now, you can love it all you want. You can be a cowboy. You can want to have a badass long-nosed Peterbilt and run all over the country. But it's also the most dangerous job statistically classified by insurance, right? And their algorithm or analytics or whatever they do, analysis of it. So yeah, it's awesome, but it's the most dangerous and has a whole lot of negatives. So for people getting into it, you should definitely be aware of those negatives. Definitely be aware of it. I was not aware of all of them before I got in. And I try to stay physically fit. I try to stay financially fit. I try to work hard and learn everything that I can. And stay ahead of the curve. You know, roll with the punches. Learn as much as you can about how to deal with the bad actors. You know, learn to protect yourself against fraud in the industry. But there's a lot. It's a lot. It really is. If you think about it, you sit and think about it, it's like, holy crap. There's a lot of negatives, right? And the crazy part is, if you're a carrier, you have like the national average is like a 6% profit margin. You can do almost anything else in any other industry and get a 10, 12, 15% margin. As far as a driver, the average driver is probably like 60, 70,000 a year salary. It's not that much money for an OTR person. Now, yeah, you get into specialized, you get into oil field, you get into heavy haul, but then the increase in danger goes up. The increase in probably depression goes up. You're going to be more fatigued, more tired, because they don't give that money away. And yeah, you can make $100, $120, in some cases $150 a year, which is really good money, you know. But it is dangerous, and how is that sustainable? You know, the oil fields up and down, the markets up and down, heavy hauls up and down, all of that. None of it's consistent. So, you know, yeah, you can go out there and is it a career that you can go do for 20 years and make $120 a year, increase on that $130, $140, $150, and then get out of it? I would say probably not. Now, is UPS and some of these companies that these big conglomerate companies, you can get in with them and make really good money and have a career? Yeah, that's different though. Those companies, they're huge, and they often lay off too though. But I mean, look, Yellow Freight just went out, right, last year. Biggest in the nation. So it happens. It's rare, but it happens. And for everyone going out, there's a new one coming in that's adapting new technology, adapting new lanes, adapting new procedures, adapting new ways of doing things, kind of moving with the times and the trends. And if you're not doing that and you're old and ancient with ancient ways, you're going to be on the way out. But there's a lot of negatives inherently. You know, when you get in it, you got foreigners pushing you out at a crazy rate because they're willing to do it cheaper. I see that at literally 10 times a day. 10 times a day, at least, do I see a foreign individual willing to do it cheaper with lesser equipment, lesser knowledge, leaving the shipper not secured properly with open deck freight or RGN freight or whatever. You know, yesterday me and Mike were rolling to the truck stop. There was 3 of them in a truck. 3 guys in one truck. And, you know, that's the world that we live in out here. Don't mean to be negative, don't mean to paint a dark picture, but be aware of all those things before you go be like, I'm going to jump in and get a CDL. Or if you're already in it and you've been into it a year, do you really want to take this shit 10 years? You know, I've been in it now 12 years, 10, 12 years. And you look back and say, could I have done something else that would have been healthier, less stressful, more home time, you know, I built a different career. Something to think about before you get into it. Or if you've been in a year or two, do you want to continue down this path? Something to think about.